Please help me understand why men in America act so differently than men in my country. I'm staying home today because I got sick, but I spoke with my American friend and with my Russian guy friend. My American friend said, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I hope you feel better soon." After I said to my Russian friend that I'm sick, the first thing he said, "Do you need any medication? Do you want me to come? Do you need any help? Do you need anything?" No, and it's not just that person. It's culture, baby. You might have a perception that Russian people are very cold, but we have a very big heart and we take care of our people, period.
I don't think any of that's true.
All right, gentlemen and gents, I have a bit of a confession to make here. I am not, in fact, a Russian. So I'm not the world's most foremost expert when it comes to Russian culture. However, I do have this thing called common sense, which you clearly lack, woman. What exactly are you expecting here? For your American friend to go to the pharmacy, grab a bottle of cough syrup and some Pepto-Bismol and then catch the next flight to St. Petersburg? Your Russian friend was probably a local you've known for a while, and judging from the way he's talking to you, we can tell that this wasn't a cultural thing. This was clearly a friend zone thing. Men in the friend zone have no problem taking care of you when you're sick. You expect that kind of treatment from men in your friend zone. The American you were talking to, arguing whether or not he was in the same city, gave you the minimum amount of empathy, but went on with his life because he clearly was a man who wasn't gonna go out of his way to bang you. We all know this because the first thing you did when the American man didn't go out of his way to help you was you went on social media to complain about him. And it looks like hell had no fury like a woman scorned by illness and an American man who straight up doesn't care.
That's not my problem. It's yours.
Talk about how men and women handle their breakups differently. If you learn anything from my videos, this will be the most important one. Women are typically going through all of their emotions. They miss you, they're thinking of the memories, the pain, and they just want a good support system. Men typically shut off their emotions because a relationship is probably the most emotional thing that they have to go through. So after that is gone, they don't want to be emotional. They want to be active. They want to be doing things, going out with friends, drinking, getting back on the dating apps. It's also not as common for men to sit there to cry it out and to get their boys' opinions of how they feel.
Real men hide their feelings. Why? Because it's none of your business.
I think it's safe to assume that breakups are personal and everybody will react differently depending on the circumstances of why the couple broke up. But leave it to a modern life failure to lecture people on how men go through the emotions when she's clearly packing the wrong plumbing. Men don't feel the need to have to be constantly letting out our emotions on other people. We are emotionally intelligent. We know how to suffer in silence. It's our business, and let's be real here, nobody really cares either way. So many of us aren't really up for partying it up after a breakup. When a woman breaks her loyalty with a man, it does more damage than you think. And when she leaves, it's a massive shock to the system that men need to silently process before making any attempt to move on. Typically, it's the woman whose first inclination is to film herself crying and posting it on the internet for sympathy. She's also the one who will go on a massive hedonistic bender of drinking, dressing less than modestly, and practicing their rapid bed hopping game. It's the modern women's premier sport of the 21st century after all.
It is common for their boys to say, "It's okay, forget about it, have thick skin, don't be weak, let's go out, distract yourself." And this is where women think, he never cared about me, he looks like he's having fun, he's talking to other people. Now he's not going through the same pain as you. And that's okay, but you have to understand that he's eventually gonna feel it. It's just gonna be a different timeline than yours. They're sitting there thinking they didn't care about you. Look at your timeline and say, I'm gonna feel all of it now, and I'm gonna move on a lot quicker. I'm not gonna just pretend like it's not there, hold that anchor so that I can come back months to years later.
Dear God in heaven, gentlemen, what is it like to be so wrong?
I hate to break it to you, sister, but women are the ones who openly share their personal business on social media. When a man sees photos of his ex immediately out in the world and having fun and bragging about their new beginnings, it twists the knife and forces the men to face their pain immediately. And that's because men have people depending on them. They're also forced to live their lives, do their work, as well as suffer in silence. Men may open up to their bros if things are really bad, but for the most part, we have no choice but choose stoicism almost every time. Once the woman realizes that the men she truly desires aren't interested in her, she'll try to get back with their ex and assume that he would want her back. But because he was forced to face that pain immediately, that man will not give her a second opportunity to do that again, especially after it took him time to find his peace. But once he moves on, he's done, and the woman will nurse that pain for months, years even. And that's because modern women are impulsive, entitled, and emotionally unintelligent.
Oh, this is just so shocking. I mean, I must just be so monumentally naive.
You are.
I love when men mansplain things to me because then I get to respond to it. And I've crafted so many perfect responses to mansplaining. I'd like to share them with you. Here's my first and favorite one, when they explain something to you that's just blatantly obvious. And if it's so obvious, let's remember that has nothing to do with us and everything to do with them. Sometimes I'll just ignore it because I'm thinking, oh, you must not have known that recently. That's kind of cute. But if I want to call them out on it, I'll just go, yeah. So when did you learn that? They just go. And if they get real defensive, well, I've always known that. Then I get to go, so then why would you think that I wouldn't?
That's a mystery.
So if I'm understanding all of this correctly, you took time out of your life to create a predetermined laundry list of responses in the off chance for you to be petty and mean to the men you don't like? You seem to create one hell of a mental gymnastic course for you to be able to find these excuses just so you can bully men and to be unpleasant. And it's kind of embarrassing, what with you being history's foremost expert on all things blatantly obvious, that I have to explain this to you. But you see, lady, human beings are incapable of reading each other's minds. I know, it's shocking. Some of us will explain something to you in the event that you might not know these things. And in the off chance that you are aware of the information being given to you, a simple "I know" will suffice, and most times that should be the end of it. But we all know you don't want it to end. You need to feel superior to men who have literally done you no wrong. It's all you have to live for in this life. So you come up with these snarky responses that, well, let's face it, you completely botch in the execution, and that's only when men are forced to talk to you at all. And we all know this is common knowledge. So when are you going to get around to learning that?
Okay, but also when they explain something to you that you just said, like they explain back to you something you just said, then I go, yeah, that's so great. I'm so glad that you understood what I was saying. That's perfect. Good job. It's so mad. Okay, or when they're just being a total dick and they're mansplaining and you get to go, that's almost right.
Oh boy. Gentlemen and gents, I must apologize. I broke one of the golden rules. Don't ever give a modern woman the benefit of the doubt. You see, I knew this broad was thick-headed, but oh my god, I was not prepared for this. Now, I feel downright ashamed that I have to explain this to you, woman, but if a man repeats what you said back to you, that's because he's confirming the information you just gave him to ensure that it's correct and that there was no miscommunication, so no mistakes need to be made in the future. It's an efficiency thing. You don't have to treat him like a child, but I understand why you do. You're just a child in a woman's haggard body and you have no idea how to be a grown-up. And that's kind of sad. But what's even more pathetic is how you think anything you said is actually some kind of a wicked sick burn. It's really not. It's obnoxious, uninspired, and kind of stupid. But it is also the kind of thing we would expect from a barren old broad who's accumulated more bodies than an after party after a massive cult ceremony. And the best part is you assume that you're funny and clever, but you're completely oblivious to the fact that your garden variety ceramic garden gnome is more clever, is far more intellectual, and better looking if we're being frank, and there is no way you will be able to understand anything that I'm saying, regardless how much I mansplain it to you. So I'm just gonna chalk you up to a lost cause and move on with my life.
I apologize. I forgot you were there. You may go now.
This is kind of embarrassing to share, but last week I was getting down to business with a fan on OF.
That's why I praise the Lord for prostitutes.
And I was really into this guy, okay? And we've been talking for a few weeks and he was the total package, or so I thought, because all of a sudden everything was going great and then he ghosted. This got me thinking though. I wonder if guys truly lose interest in me because I don't seem respectable or wholesome enough. Because obviously I was making him happy. I was having fun, he was having fun, that's not the problem. But I need a man's perspective on this. What do you think, or what would you do in his shoes in that situation?
Check, please.
If we ever need insight into the massive void of the modern woman, we need not look any further than your friendly neighborhood only freaks girl. Allow me to illuminate you, lady. You are a woman who is so damaged that she confuses bedroom fun with happiness. Modern women are so emotionally broken that they assume that all they need to do in order to get a man is miss Thought's wild ride. And sure, men won't mind a few romps in the bedroom, but come on, that assumption is as stereotypical as it is insulting. We actually have feelings and intelligence, and the last thing we want is to be in a relationship with an Internet Avenue stroller. But that doesn't mean that Chad won't be interested in making you a notch on his bedpost. Now you get to choose who enters your bedroom, and you clearly chose Chad, and Chad knew your profession. He was only interested in a quick romp before moving on to more important things. He said the words and did the things to get what he wanted, and then he cut you off because you were no longer of any use to him. Because when you sell your body on the internet, you're only good for one thing, sweetheart. Hope that clears it up for you. You're welcome.
That's why I say prostitutes, prostitutes.
My husband and I have been married for 17 years. We got to the biggest fight we've ever gotten into, ever, over our toilet water. You tell me if I'm overreacting, because I really don't think I am. Okay, so here's what happened. Every single time I go out of town, my husband's incredible. Like, I travel a lot for work. I come home. He's so great about cleaning the house, doing the laundry, you know, keeping up with the kitchen. The house is always immaculate when I come home. Somehow this man got it into his head that, you know what would be really cool is if you put one of those giant blue hockey discs in the back of your toilet water so that every time you flush, the toilet comes out blue. The toilet water comes out blue. Like it's, like we live at a 7-Eleven or something.
I must have missed 60 minutes. What are you saying?
Oh, that's where you're wrong, lady. If your bathroom was anything like a franchise convenience store, you'd only be able to use that facility with the purchase of a pack of gum or a bag of overpriced tortilla chips. Now, assuming this bathroom isn't just for employees only, that bathroom will not be of the finest caliber. The water pressure in the sink won't be adequate, the soap will not lather up properly, and that stupid hand dryer on the wall is an outdated piece of equipment from the Reagan era that will barely work if it works at all. Now, in regards to the toilet, if you're lucky, the contents will be flushed or at least filled with ice. But typically, it'll be filled with some of the most inhuman stuff imaginable and packed tight with industrial grade one-ply toilet paper. But the one thing that toilet will not have is blue toilet water. Companies will not pay for that. There is just no way that'll happen. And that's why there is nothing apt about your comparison. If anything, you'd just be frustrated with the minimum wage clerk for not maintaining the facilities, but you wouldn't rip him a new one over it. You'd go on your way, be frustrated for 10 minutes, and move on with your life. But with your own husband, who actually keeps the bathroom spotless, you rip into him for not cleaning the bathroom the way you wanted. And it's kind of weird how you'll give more credit to a minimum wage clerk than your own husband.
So I come home, I'm using, like, I go to the bathroom and I'm like, why is the water blue? And he's like, oh, I bought these things to put in the back of the toilet. I was like, what were you doing at the store? Looking at the aisle of all the things for cleaning items for the house where you thought that would be a good idea. Take me through that. He's like, you're making such a big deal. You're being so dramatic. I'm like, I am not being dramatic.
No, woman, you are being overdramatic. You asked for details about your husband's shopping trip, and there isn't any need for an explanation. He saw the toilet cubes and probably thought it would make more sense financially to just buy the brick and be done with the toilet for a few months. It's clear you never communicated your deeply rooted contempt for the color of toilet water because it's such a specifically stupid hatred to have that no husband in his right mind would ever forget something like that. But apparently your hate for blue toilet water occupies so much of the smooth side of your brain that you disregard literally all of the other things this man has done to make you happy over the years by cleaning the house while you're away. And instead of just thanking him and recognizing everything he's done, you obsess over this toilet water to such a degree that you're making him feel guilty over something that won't be an issue in 3 months or less. But for some reason, you feel the need to control everything that the second you perceive your husband has done something wrong, you need to start screaming at him and openly shaming him on the internet. And that's the very definition of dramatic, woman.
So for a month, I'm flushing the toilet and it's still blue. And I'm complaining about it every day. I'm like, I literally, Nick, I can't live like this anymore. I cannot live with the blue toilet water. So literally, like, we're laying in bed the other night, and I just go on TikTok, like, how do I empty the back of my toilet tank so I can, so that I can get rid of this blue water. I literally, like, put in the search bar, how do I empty the back of a toilet tank? He gets up in a fury, like, oh my God, you're making such a big deal about this. When did you get so highfalutin? Blah, 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 blah. You've changed so much. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, changed so much. Like, we live in a pretty nice neighborhood. Like, it's 2024. Like, what are you doing where you think this was a good idea? So that night, he emptied the toilet bowl somehow. I still don't know how to do it. And it's great. It looks good now in the main bathroom.
You! I will think of you as I throw up into the toilet.
All right, sister, let me explain something to you. Your husband worked incredibly hard to make you happy. He wants to show you his appreciation for what little you do for him. And your response is to endlessly complain about the one thing that he did that you didn't like for over a month. Now, I gotta give your hubby some credit. He endured that for over a month before finally putting his foot down. He couldn't believe the kind of woman you became. He married you for a reason, and this whole pointless toilet water fiasco shows that you are not the woman he fell in love with. In fact, when you put more faith in what your neighbors would think about the content of your toilet over the feelings of your husband, it shows that you have even more of an emotional investment over something you defecate into over this man's feelings. This man is now questioning everything about you and how much of your relationship was based on a lie just so you could get that ring on your finger. And to think, the whole issue could have been easily resolved if you just accepted what happened and took the stunning and brave victory for all of womankind by just putting the stupid toilet seat down and moving on with your already meaningless life. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell, maybe leave a couple of comments, and share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.